So I cheated on my ex-girlfriend. This was something I did only one time, and I was drunk. Um, but I never told her. And we were together for 3 years after I did this. I never told her, and now we're broken up. And I told her recently. But I want to explore why this actually happened, and this is not a behavior that I want to continue. This was my deepest shame up until recently when I shared it with a couple friends and then started to see it more for what it was. And first idea that's important there is that shame only lives when it's hidden. And I spent many months just avoiding thinking about what I had done because I couldn't comprehend the idea of who I thought I was versus the thing that I had done. And there was this mismatch. And so I had to essentially bury that without understanding the deeper reason of why it happened. And now I get the chance to do that. And I want to share it because I find it very freeing to be able to talk about this. And like I said, it's also something that I want to change. And so what I've put on this side is how the change part works. But I want to start with where it came from or why this actually came about. And I don't claim this to be a perfect understanding. This is just my current understanding of what happened and what worked. Essentially, it stems from this idea that I am unworthy of what I desire, or I'm not good enough as I am. I need to change myself, and then in the future, then I can have what I want. And so in this case, it is physical closeness or physical intimacy. And I had that desire, but I wasn't honest about it. I wasn't asking for what I wanted when I wanted it. There was no clear communication. And so that also was compounded by my fear of conflict, which was demonstrated to me by my parents who repressed their anger when I was growing up, and then it would explode and they would have a fight. There would not be a reconciliation. They would just go to bed and wake up and pretend like it never happened. So that was my model of conflict on resolution. And I promised myself when I was very little that I would never argue. I would never do anything like that. And so then essentially what I did for many years is I just wouldn't bring up something if I wasn't sure that it was going to go smooth. If there was the potential for it to cause conflict, I would rather just push it to the side, gaslight myself and tell myself that it's not important or that I don't need to say anything and continue on. And of course this builds up. And so what happens is I have all these desires, and I was also raised Catholic, where it's a very much binary good, bad, sin, doing good, heaven, hell kind of thinking. And so I thought that all of these things of whether it's like intimacy or doing sexual things, even if it's not having sex, but like being close, there's a lot of shame from the way that I was brought up around how to deal with these things. This was something that was never talked about in my household. To say the word sex was even weird and looked down upon. And so I had this unknown desire. I have these deeper beliefs of like I shouldn't want this. And so I was very shameful of my desires. I thought like, oh no, I'm not, unless it's very clear this person wants it, I just shouldn't say anything. My ex, I shouldn't say anything. It's better for me to just keep it down. And so I would just continue to push all of these things down, push them away, pretend like they weren't important. And so that built up over time. There's this internal emotional buildup where what I was experiencing emotionally was not allowed to express. And why did this happen? You could say, well, maybe I could have communicated this to my other friends or family or different people. I could have, I agree. And I was also 17 when this happened. And so I don't mean to make an excuse, but what I do want to be clear about is that I didn't have parents who were very emotionally in tune. They weren't very aware of their emotions. And so that was what I became as well. I became someone who was very logical. All of my friends throughout high school would have told you that I'm someone who was never stressed. I was very much just like disciplined, and I just do things the right way. And I am how I am, and I'm that good. Like that was kind of the identity that I held on to. When really inside, and I started to explore this a little bit later on when I got into other levels of self-development, I had so many emotions. I was actually so stressed that I had so much stress that I couldn't even acknowledge the stress. Otherwise, it would overwhelm me, and then everything that I had built, this identity, would fall apart. And so all of these things, they don't just go away when I push them down. They built up and they searched essentially my subconscious, if you want to say it like that, or me, search for small ways or different ways to get it out, to feel like, I do have freedom. See, like I can exist this way. And so in this particular instance, I was traveling, I was out of the country, and I had drinking a lot of alcohol, something that I had never done much in my life. Mostly because of this, of how ashamed I felt, because I felt like I couldn't control myself when I drank alcohol, in this case. I hadn't drank a lot up until this point, so I had a decent amount of alcohol, and then the inner desires, the unknown desires, then come out, right? If you want to look at it from a biological standpoint, that part of my brain had turned off. I don't know biology, but the part of my brain that alcohol turns off had turned off, and so all of these things came out. And so that leads to this. What happened that night? Now, I didn't tell her, and my best understanding on why I didn't tell her is because I had projected a source. I viewed her as a source of love for me. And so from the time that we were in high school until later on, she was the one who gave me the love that I didn't receive from my mom. So I don't mean to shit on my mom, but my mom was not very physically, emotionally, close to me when I was younger. And so with this girlfriend, I was very physically close a lot of the times, just cuddling and doing these things. And more than just that, she was someone who cared about me, someone who loved me. And this was something that I hadn't experienced in that particular way up into my life. And so I became very attached to her. I need her, because without her, I don't have this love. And that is it wasn't so much a conscious thought, but that was very much how I acted. And looking back, that is what I believed deep down. So what happens then? I didn't tell her. The shame essentially compounds the more that I hide it and push it down. And so this creates a lot of distortions. Then I feel further I can't share all these other things. And so it compounds onto the lack of communication. And that went on for many years until I met my friend John, and he introduced me to the idea of honesty as the single path that solves every problem, and creates an enjoyable experience now and brings me closer to everything that I want in the future. And so as part of this, about a few weeks ago, I started to think about the idea of sharing what I had done with her specifically. I had told just a couple of friends, and I had kept this secret. Nobody in my life knew. Not a single person. I had not told a single person for more than 3 years. So my friend John was the first one that I told. And then a couple weeks ago, I sent a voice note to my ex and told her. And so whether that was good or bad can be argued. But the point is this. Honesty, now that I'm being honest about what I have done, I can actually accept the idea that I'm not perfect. And so before I had this idea that I'm this amazing person or I'm this good person and I know what's going on, but in reality, I don't know what's going on. And when I accept the things that I have done, I realize that I don't know what's going on. I realize that it's actually okay that I don't know what I'm doing. It's okay that I'm not perfect. I start to share these things, and the shame is dissolved, essentially. Shame only lives when it's hidden. And so as I'm sharing this, even right now, this is going a step further. This is dissolving more and more of whatever shame is still here and present in my system from this. Also, when I'm honest, I can then repent. And repentance basically means seeing this, understanding why I did what I did, and choosing to change, choosing a different path. And so what that looks like for me now is, to the best of my ability, I'm not perfect, but to the best of my ability, cleanly stating my desires. And when I cleanly state my desires, I own them, I offer them as a gift to someone. I don't make anyone meet me in them. I'm just very clear about what I want. And the other person then can choose whether to fulfill those desires or whether to meet me in those or whether they don't want it. Either way, me being able to share what I desire is what I actually desire, and it has been an incredibly freeing experience to be able to tell people, yeah, actually, I really just want to get to know you, man, or actually really don't enjoy this. I want to leave right now. And nothing against you, I just want to leave. I don't prefer this. And so cleanly stating my desires in either way, it makes me self-sufficient. It makes me not fall back into this where I need someone, where I'm dependent on someone. And also the other thing that I'll mention here is having clarity on my desires has helped me a lot. There's a difference between surface level preferences and what I would consider my core desires. So surface level preferences might be like, I prefer a girl with blonde hair or something like that. And a core desire would be, I actually want to feel like I'm okay and that I'm free to exist, even though I've messed up, even though I've failed and I've made mistakes. I want to be able to share who I am and feel okay in doing that. That would be something that's much more important rather than like, the color of hair or my steak being medium rare or these kind of things. These are much more, they don't matter as much. And so having clarity on what I actually desire in my deep down and putting those first has allowed me to enjoy my life much more and not repeat this cycle of doing something that I don't like, being shameful about it, hiding it, making myself small because I don't want to mess up again. I don't trust myself. That's why I didn't drink alcohol for many years. I still don't very often. But the idea is that I was so scared to mess up because I was so scared of failing and what that would mean of me, of that I would be a bad person or that I wouldn't have the love that I wanted. And so I would avoid these things and I would try to keep myself in a tight structure, which on some level it worked. I didn't do it again, but it's also a very tight box to be in and it's not enjoyable. And if you've experienced it, you know what I'm talking about. And so the idea here is honesty and having faith that when I'm honest, things will work out, even though it's scary to be honest sometimes. To be honest about what I'm experiencing, to what I'm feeling, what I want, what I enjoy, what I'm thinking, and just turning myself inside out for the whole world to see, for the people in my life to see, and allowing it to take its natural course and trusting that I'm going to be okay no matter what when I'm honest to the best of my ability.